Hey everyone, this is Lomi, and today I'm working on a face-up for an Illusion Spirit Annabel. I don't really see a lot of their dolls out there, and I found her really interesting to work with. I start the job by doing line work, which is the usual for me, using a custom mix of gouache paints for reddish-brown brows and lashes. The doll's owner requested a natural face-up with Freckles, which is lots of fun because I've really enjoyed doing Freckles lately. As I'm turning her around, you'll probably notice the inconsistency between the color of her face and the color of the resin inside the head and neck, and that's because she was color matched to the body her owner will put her on. I didn't record the color matching process this time because the extreme heat we've been having this summer meant I had a lot of problems with the paint and the airbrush drying too soon and causing clogs. So what should have been a simple match and a 15-minute airbrush job ended up taking several hours because the paint kept drying on the airbrush needle. If you're interested in color matching though, I have other videos about the subject already, including some tips on how to mix a good match, and I'll link to those in the description so they'll be easy to find. I'll also link to the materials list I keep on my website because I always get questions about paints or pastels or other supplies, so I try to keep an updated list of everything I use somewhere that's easy to access. Doing a face-up on a color-matched doll is always a little bit nerve-wracking because if anything goes wrong, it can be really hard to cover scratches or discoloration where the matched paint is damaged. You'd think it wouldn't make me nervous after doing so many color-matched dolls of my own, but it still does. You can see I use a wet paintbrush to clean up lines and redo things several times, and I will say that using gouache paints helps eliminate some of my nervousness because of how easily it can be wiped off and redone before it's sealed. If I were using acrylic paints and needed to start over after they dried, I'd have to wipe off all the color matching and redo the doll from the beginning. After the doll's owner is okay with the line work, I move on to pastels. This doll ultimately will take 4 layers of blushing to get to the end result, even though it's a pretty mild face-up, because the bridge of her nose was very stubborn and didn't want to hold much color. Sometimes you encounter problem areas like that, and it can be the shape of the doll's face, or the texture of the sealant in a specific spot, or even the texture of the resin in a particular area. You never really know what you're going to get. This girl's going to be kind of cottagecore, so she'll be very sweet and sun-kissed when all is said and done. I used some pinks in the eyeshadow and also on the forehead, chin, and ears to help balance her face, and there's some purple around her eyes to give them a little depth without making her look tired or sickly. Eventually, the pink on the nose isn't enough, so I also incorporated some dusty orange, and then it's time for Freckles. I do 2 layers of freckles to build them up, with the most intense ones going on first. Each layer gets cleaned up with water to remove freckles from unwanted areas, and also to remove any splatters, streaks, or spots that are too dark. Then, when that layer is done, I thin out the paint some more so the next round of freckles will be lighter and softer. As I worked on the blushing, I found this doll's face shape reminded me a lot of Feeplesuni, who was another doll that was really interesting to paint. I think it's the roundness of her cheeks, the big eyes, and the open mouth. The open mouth will be another place where the gouache paint is an advantage, because as long as the blushing on the lips is sealed well, it's easy to use white gouache in there and then clean up the edges. I use a combination of peach and thinned out white for lines on the lips. It dries more translucent than it looks when wet. After it's dry, she gets some white gold pearl powder on her cheekbones as highlighter. Then all that's left is the final layers of sealant and some gloss for the eyes and lips. Now she's done and ready to go home to her owner. I love the freckles, and it's been so much fun to do a couple freckled face-ups in a row. And that's all for today though. Thanks for watching. Bye.